Welcome to Alberta Conservation Association's Harvest Your Own podcast, the resource for everything hunting, navigating through the field, the butcher shop, and the kitchen. Life is all about great food. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Brad Fenson, an avid outdoor enthusiast who has worked as a freelance journalist, photographer, and public speaker for over 3 decades. I have hunted, fished, and foraged all my life and hope to share my passion for the outdoors. Along the way, I want to encourage everyone to harvest wild proteins and enjoy the satisfaction of providing the next meal for your family. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and inspire individuals to get outdoors and create a connection between food, health, and your future meals. Welcome to Harvest Your Own. Today we have a special guest, born and raised in Alberta, an accomplished angler, but brand new to the hunting community. So I'd like to welcome Isaac Haines.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Coming into the hunting fold later in life, what's it like?
It's a lot. It's yeah, I mean it's been such a wild experience. I did not grow up hunting or fishing. I grew up camping, so I think that helped kind of just distill the love for the outdoors in me. But as far as hunting and fishing goes, it's just been a learning curve, but it's also this, I feel like I've just been following my passion with a lot of it.
You mentioned to me earlier that you thought that passion was always there. You just didn't know it, and you had to bring it to the surface somehow.
It's really bizarre. That's right. I feel like I've always had this innate love for the outdoors, and even looking back on 13 or 14 years ago when I started fishing, I didn't know where the idea came from. I just maybe I watched a river runs through it with Brad Pitt or something, but the idea of fishing got stuck in my head, and I didn't know anyone who fished, so I just eventually went to Cabela's and bought my first rod and just started swinging it around.
Nice. It's interesting how Hollywood influences things. River ran through it, created a fly fishing sensation in North America that really was big, and then the Hunger Games, young ladies with archery, it was incredible how that took off.
I guess. Yeah, I haven't thought of that too much, but you're probably right.
Yeah, there's stats on it. It's pretty interesting to see. Now, you grew up camping and doing some outdoor stuff, so you had an appreciation for nature and the outdoors and everything in it, but
yes.
Did your family hunt?
No one in my family hunted or fished. I guess my uncle was a farmer, so we'd get kind of fresh beef from him sometimes, but I really was not exposed to fishing or hunting at all. I don't even think I held a fishing rod in my hand until I was at Cabela's buying my first rod.
Wow.
So, and then I think the first year that I fished, I don't think I even caught anything, It was just getting out there and just trying to find these lakes to go to. But it also was funny, again, while we were on fishing, so my first rod was a spinning rod, and I was just fishing with gear and spinners and whatnot, fishing for anything. But I didn't really feel connected to the sport until I remember I saw a YouTube video and somebody was fly fishing, and I was so just amazed at maybe just the motion of it all, it just looked really beautiful. So I think it was the next season that I bought myself a fly rod, and it was with that rod that I just felt like that was it for me, and I've really just been obsessed with fly fishing ever since. And I still have that first rod, actually. Yeah. It's a good rod.
It becomes a passion quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's anything in the outdoors. We've talked about this many times, but I think it's good for a person's soul.
Yeah.
You get into the incandescent lights, and it's quite suppressing, but you get outdoors, and it's like you found life again.
For me, that's just it. My wife knows it's become a type of personal therapy for me. It's my meditation. Yeah, it really is a thing that sometimes I can feel I just need, I'll just need the mental space, and I'll just go out there and, I don't know, being fishing the last decade, I still take time just to kind of just pause and just be there. It really is just very therapeutic.
It gives you time to appreciate what Alberta has to offer.
That's true.
Because we are very spoiled in terms of what our resources are. our fisheries, some people think we're quite limited, but I'd rather look at them as diverse. We have mountain streams and rivers. We're a little bit short on boreal lakes and stuff, but prairie reservoirs, local trout ponds, local trout lakes, we do have lots of opportunity.
We still got some great lakes around here, and I feel like just in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been getting into lake fishing. I mean, I live in the Parkland County region where there's so many good lakes to just drive to. A lot of them are stocked, but a lot of the fish, they hold over and they get quite large. And I'm not going to name any specific lakes, but lake fishing is something that I've been really enjoying and I look forward to. Even just driving here, I drove past my lake and I'm just looking to see if the ice is off, and it's almost off. I might be fishing tonight.
Nice.
I
was thinking about that too. I was actually thinking of getting out this weekend to go fishing, wondering if the ice is off. So it's that time of year where it's
close.
Yep. Very close.
Very close.
What do you think created that initial interest? A river runs through it with fishing, but where did you take that next step to get into the hunting?
So, yeah, that's a good question. I've been trying to think about that myself just over the last week. I feel like this whole fishing and hunting and harvesting, I feel like it's a kind of a natural progression, kind of this evolution that happens to a lot of people. Every person will have their own story and their own kind of experience with it, but I feel like there's a very natural evolution to it all, and it's a lot of baby steps. But yeah, just fishing, it's sort of, eating the fish that I would catch sometimes, it sort of inspired me to, and another thing is just my wife and I, like, she's been wanting to get into homesteading, just start eating, knowing where nutrients come from. That's been important to her. So yeah, we're just trying to procure our own meat in a way, and just hunting is kind of the next natural step for me, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's been in our national papers in the last 3 years where collecting wild proteins, organic, free range, it's all the buzzwords, and the best way to do it is to procure it yourself. And the only way to do that in a lot of cases is to hunt it.
That's right.
A lot of us don't have space to raise livestock or birds, and if we do, it's hard to get a year's supply. So hunting really comes into play if you want to be self-sufficient and know what you're eating.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you eat any wild game growing up as a kid?
No.
None.
I think the first wild game that I ate was from the first deer that I shot just last season.
Wow.
So I just shot one white-tailed deer. It was a young buck. And, I can get into that whenever you want, but it was just a very special experience that I'll never forget. So.
Well, tell us about it. How did you get out there? What happened?
Okay. Well, Can I start by saying last season was my first season hunting. I got all my certificates in order, but I did start the season with some pheasant hunting. So I was very lucky that I had a couple friends take me out. I had one friend take me out once, and we didn't see anything. But then one of my neighbors, Ashley Tracy, she breeds, I think they're called Brittany Spaniel dogs. Yep. But she invited me to come with her, and I watched her go run her dogs with a couple other people there. But then eventually, my first pheasant I shot right before that. I was just by myself. I think it was my third time out, and I shot a pheasant. And that helped me get a lot of just kind of comfort walking through the field with my gun. But then as soon as November came, that's the rifle season, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, I had my gun, and I did a lot of scouting. So I believe if you go hunting and you don't shoot anything, it's called scouting, right? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, reconnaissance mission.
Reconnaissance. So I did a lot of reconnaissance. And, I don't know. I was on the site, and I remember I saw some deer just run through this little channel. It led from like one field to another field in this little channel. And I thought, oh, that looks like a great spot to go to. So the next day I went in there bright and early, and I just sat there, and I was waiting for the sun to come up. I was drinking some coffee, and pretty close to legal light, I saw a deer across a field, probably like 400 to 500 yards away. Like, it was pretty far. And I don't know. One of my friends showed me how to make this funny little deer call. Kind of, when I do it, it sounds like a cow mooing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A bleat. Yeah.
Yeah. But I made one of those, and it was pretty much jumping a fence when I made that sound, and it stopped and it turned my way. Like I could just tell it heard it, and it just, yeah. So that blew me away, that I could hear me like almost 500 yards away. And it started to come my direction. And then over the course of 10 minutes, I thought it had disappeared once or twice, but no, it came right up to me. And finally it popped out of a bush about 80 yards away. And I checked my phone and had just crossed the legal light time frame. And so I steadied myself on a tree, and I was pretty nervous. I felt myself shaking. But yeah, it went broadside, and I just took a deep breath, and I felt my whole body just sort of go into Zen state. Like I was calm, I was steady, it was broadside. I felt like it was close enough for me to take the shot, so I just pulled the trigger, and I guess I shot it. It went down, and I was out there by myself, so I had never really gotten this far with it, I'd never actually shot a deer in the field, so I didn't quite know what to do after this point. But I ended up just running up to it, and I knelt down beside it for a moment, and it was still alive. So can I say what I did?
Yeah,
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so I ended up pulling out my hunting knife, and I straddled it, and it felt safe in the moment. It felt like it was a young buck. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have done this, but I straddled it, and I slit its throat, and it died. And that was it. And man, the adrenaline that was going through me just in that moment as I was just on it, and it had expired. And I knew that in a way I had done it. I had done something that I'd wanted to do for many years up until this point. And yeah. So
was it like a flood of mixed emotion?
It was a lot. It was a lot.
And it's good to talk about this because I don't care who you are or what your age. As a hunter, the first harvest pulls at your heartstrings. It's in your mind. You're happy. You're sad. There's a whole bunch of things that just flood through you, and it's how you process it that'll determine what you do in the future.
Yeah, that's right. Like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah,
and I knew the purpose of it, and I knew I would do it again. But just actually doing it, it did make me feel some kind of way. And also just looking at its eyes and how it was just it was a creature that was bigger than me. I could tell that like it had a lot of life in it. And so, yeah, there was a piece of me that felt sad. I felt like I had taken this animal's, well, I was going to say I felt like I had taken its life, but I actually did. I took its life, and but ultimately, I brought it home, and my kids saw it, and my wife and I we dry aged it for a couple days just in my shed. But then, we butchered it, and the first thing that I ate of it was its tenderloins, and
that's pretty common.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
yeah. My friend told me it was the best part. So also, it didn't hurt that I actually wrapped in a little bit of bacon, so that was really good. But it was so good, and yeah, it's just some of the best meat that I've had in a long time. And
isn't that the winning point of the whole thing? Is you shot something, you have mixed emotions, you get it home, your family helps you deal with it. You take your first meal, and it is wonderful.
It was wonderful.
Right.
It was so good.
It met your expectations or exceeded them.
It exceeded them. I was, I don't know if I had ever really had venison like that before, but it was just so good. Like I kept on looking for the gaminess that I hear, game meat is gamey. But I kept on looking for this flavor, this taste, but I couldn't find anything in it that I didn't like, and I ate some steaks pretty raw.
Yeah. And
everything was just so good that I was like, this is, next year I'd like to get 3 if I can, a buck and 2 does. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to look forward to.
This podcast is produced for Harvest Your Own, a program dedicated to those who want to reconnect with food and health through their experiences outdoors. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a resource for individuals to learn more about hunting and the outdoors. There's information to get you started and ensure that your compass stays pointed in the right direction to be successful. Where's your next meal coming from?
Venison and wild game, any wild game, doesn't need to have a gamey flavor. A lot of that, if you read Harvest Your Own and go to the site, tell you how to do things. Taking care of something as soon as you shoot it is very important.
Yeah.
You know, you dispatched your animal with your knife. Some people shoot them. There's lots of different things, but you had advice, you followed it, you were successful, and you get it home, you skin it out, you don't leave it all day. And get to it later. I think that the quicker you do things, the better the meat is. It cools down faster. You know, and some animals like antelope, if you harvest one, you need to get the hide off as quick as you can. And it reduces that gamey flavor. So everything tastes different, and that's good. Deer has a unique flavor, but it doesn't need to be gamey.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. And I ended up making a lot of, my wife and I bought a grinder, and I made a lot of smash burgers, and those were a smash. Especially I had my whole family over, and I was making smash burgers for like 10 or 15 people, and it was funny. Everyone was just loving the burgers so much. But then after everyone had eaten, I reached in the fridge and I pulled out the full hind quarter, one of the legs and its thigh, and I showed them that this is where the meat came from. And a lot of people, I saw a lot of jaws drop. You know, they just didn't. I told them that we were going to eat this deer, but when they saw that leg, they realized this is actually where the meat came from. And they were, I don't know, maybe they were impressed, maybe they were just something, but it was pretty cool to share that with them.
Nobody got squeamish though.
No.
Right, because they tasted it.
I also waited until they had finished eating before I pulled the leg out, so it didn't really matter.
You know, it's interesting. 100 years ago, you probably would have had a hind quarter of deer in your cold room and gone out and carved out what you wanted, and you'd be considered wealthy if you had that kind of resources at your fingertips. So
it's true.
Society's changed, and we see a lot of our meat in cellophane wrap nowadays. But I think that's a good experience for everyone, is to do it yourself, have your family included. A big part of it is sharing it, though. What did that do for you?
Yeah, it's oh man, I love sharing some of the meat. Like, we were a little bit stingy. We didn't want to, give all of it away, but we definitely gave some steaks to my parents, and my wife gave some steaks to just some close friends of her. And it felt like sharing not just the meat with them, but also the idea of potentially harvesting your own game, your own meat. And it just felt great sharing that with them. Like, it was just sort of opening their eyes to, something that you can do. And also the reviews that I got back of the meat was just all great. They just all said that it was just really good tasting, and they appreciated it.
And what you might not realize is that's an accolade for you in terms of how you harvested the animal and how you dealt with it afterwards. A lot of times I hear people that give away meat, it's because there's something wrong with it.
Ugh.
But the only time to give it away is when it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I think I just lucked out. I don't know. I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I had watched 100 YouTube videos, but it's just different when you're in the field, Even like when I had shot my first deer, I had watched like so many YouTube videos on how to butcher it. But when I was actually there over top of it, I had my knife on my hand, everything just went out the window. It was just different. So I ended up calling one of my friends who knew what to do, and he helped walk me through it a little bit just over the phone, and that just helped.
Oh, good.
Because, it was just different being in the field.
Can you imagine doing this 40 years ago when there's no internet?
Yeah.
I mean, the learning curve would have been pretty steep.
Yeah.
We're pretty fortunate today to have the resources we do. YouTube is an incredible resource for, changing a fuel filter in your truck or field dressing a deer.
It's true.
You open up a video, look at it, and if you don't like it, you open up another one and say, oh, I like the way that this guy or gal did it. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and we've tried to get all of that on Harvest Your Own. We have videos on there how to field dress an elk, and if somebody's shot their first one in the field and don't know what to do, you can call up that video, watch it, pause it where you need to, move to the next step, turn it back on, and hopefully you can get through the process. No,
that's right. I kind of wish I knew about the Harvest Your Own website when I was just trying to get into this. I just didn't know, but I realized, like, even as soon as you land on the site, the first button is get started. And I went through that whole little funnel, but it's just like it just walks you step by step on what to do, like, to get the right licenses, and all of that. And it was just very simple. And I just was like, that's something I'm going to send people to,
Yep.
people looking into it. Yeah.
That's good. The people that tried your steaks and your first deer harvest, did you have any influence on them to maybe think about hunting themselves? Or are they more interested in helping you so that you could bring more home?
No, like my brothers specifically all said that they would love to start hunting with me.
Wow.
They would like to get into it. And they're all busy, working their jobs, doing their thing. So it's not easy. Like, you need some time to kind of get into it. But I said, if you get your certificates in order, get your gun licenses, and it's a couple things you got to get in order before you start. I would love to take them hunting, and they both want to. So,
to me, it adds quality to life. The experience, the outdoors is part of it.
Yeah.
But the reward is the meat on the other end. And they're starting on that end. You shared your deer with them. They had a taste of it. They hear your stories, and they want to get out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's
powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So you harvested a pheasant. You harvested a deer. Did you hunt anything else last year?
Nope. Just those two.
Okay. What are your aspirations for the coming year?
The coming year, I'm really looking forward to an early season of pheasant hunting.
Yes.
I just really enjoyed that. Especially if I can go out with my neighbor again and I can go with our dogs. Like, I mean, I love dogs, and yeah, just pheasant hunting was so fun. And also I'd like to try to get I'm going to see if my daughter wants to try to hunt with me, pheasant hunting.
Oh,
so
good.
she's 7.
Yep.
She'll be 8 next year. And I know you were just telling me that your kids have been hunting since they were 18 months old.
They've been coming along in the blind, setting
Yeah.
up decoys, pulling them down, retrieving birds.
Yeah.
Even when we get back here, I think if I cleaned the birds without them, they'd be upset with me.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to just see how my daughter feels about it, just holding a gun. And, but that's something I would like, even if she can just come with me. And then we'll see how she feels when November comes around. Does she want to come deer hunting with me? Does she want to come out and just see if we can see a deer and maybe watch her dad take a deer?
Yep.
But that's something that I very much think about, is just the whole idea of involving my kids with this, and them just watching me do this. And I'm hoping that there's a lot of things that might be easier for them to just, just learn about. So
it's interesting that I feel very fortunate. I came from a hunting family, so I was exposed to it at a very young age. Grew up going with my dad, neighbors, friends, relatives.
yeah.
And we discussed this earlier. It's like kids nowadays can get into things a lot quicker with real life experience.
Yeah.
And you or I, if we were to take Spanish classes, it would be a grind learning how to speak a new language or write it. But kids, you can put them in front of the TV and let them watch a show, and next thing you know, they're talking to you in Spanish. So
Yeah.
they're sponges. They learn very quickly.
Yeah.
And they're also influenced very quickly. So,
Yeah.
I wrote an article for a magazine here about taking the kids outdoors and what you need to do. Make sure you got snacks and drinks and keep it fun and, keep it within their attention span. But,
Yeah.
it's important to get them out there. But the big thing is they learn that it's not gross.
Yeah.
The only time I've had problem is when there's an adult around and they go, ooh. And when someone goes, ooh, in the room or complains about the way something tastes, it impacts everybody. So having that positive influence from an early age lets them make up their own mind, lets them decide, their direction they want to go. Maybe your daughter will be your sidekick for the rest of your life and never hunt.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
Chances are she's going to love pheasant meat and getting out there with you.
Yeah. And, as you were just talking, I realized, but almost my kids, always their first reaction to when I bring something home, like a pheasant, they're always a little bit almost offended. They're like, Dad, why did you kill this? But then, I deal with it, and then I put it on the plate, and they love it to the point where they always say, oh, Dad, let's get some more pheasant, or even like the deer. When I brought that deer home in my car, it was in my ice fishing sled, and yeah, my 2 younger kids especially were like, Dad, like, you killed a deer? How could you do that? And but then that sort of went away. But then after we were eating that tenderloin and more smash burgers, they were always like, Dad, next year, let's get more deer.
Right.
You know? And so it's kind of like you keep saying, like from field to fork, that whole full circle process. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's cool.
It really is. And kids are a good litmus. You know, they look at things and they might not think it's acceptable, but then they see what the end product is and what it means to them, and they're on board.
Yeah. Yeah, as we, the summer before, we raised and butchered 30 chickens, actually. And we developed a bit of a mantra as we were butchering each chicken, and it was just simply, thank you, chicken, for your life and the life you will give us.
Yep.
And that's become a common mantra just in our family, just even before we enjoy a plate. Just sometimes we'll say, thank you for your life and the life you will give our bodies, you know?
Yep.
That's really important to us.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have that respect for wildlife too.
Yeah.
You know, and what we eat. We're very blessed. I just came back from Africa.
Yeah.
Where protein is a cherished commodity.
Yeah.
And we ate mopani worms over there, and I posted some on my.
What are those?
It's a worm, a caterpillar that eats the leaves off the mopani tree.
Okay.
So you squeeze them and squish all the innards out of them, and then you soak them in salt water and you fry them in garlic butter, and they were quite good. But I posted it on social media, and people were absolutely offended. Some people said they wanted to throw up, or it was disgusting. Don't post that. And literally over 100 comments, there was like 2 that were good.
That's funny.
And I got back and mentioned.
Did it taste good? Just curious.
Oh yeah, they were
really
good. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just said, North Americans are spoiled. We have too many protein options. We're not hungry.
Yeah.
But even if you are hungry and you had a choice, wild game is got lots of benefits for you, health wise, and it's lower in fat, lower in cholesterol. To me, it tastes great, and it's a great option to raise a family.
Yeah. And I also feel like there's a certain, I don't know if you can call it maturity, of just embracing where your food comes from. Like, for example, if you choose to be a meat eater, or if you choose to not be vegan, whatever, that was something for me. I wanted to just be real about where my food was coming from. Like, I love me a cheeseburger, I love me a nice steak, and but yeah, I just felt like there was something about where is this food coming from, and for me to, that was something else for me.
This podcast was made possible by Alberta Conservation Association and the Harvest Your Own community. If you're interested in harvesting your own food, there's a comprehensive collection of information to gain insight and knowledge. Head to the field, harvest your own protein, prepare it, and taste the results. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a library of information from getting started and geared up to processing, butchering, and cooking wild game to make the connection between health and food.
I'm going to back up a little bit. How onerous was it to get through the courses for you to start hunting? Because a lot of people ask that. They're like, oh, I'd love to get started, but I don't have time to do all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. It was a lot. It was, I'm a slow reader to begin with. So I think it took me almost 3 days of just doing the online course and just trying to process all the information. And then it's funny, but I actually failed the test the first time. I think I was out just by maybe 1 or 2 answers. So yeah, and then I had to email the AHIA, and they were very gracious about it. They let me do a redo a couple days later, and I passed. But it was a lot, but it was also, there was a lot of sections in it that I really enjoyed. Like especially, I knew that I wanted to start doing some bird hunting, so I really paid attention to, I didn't know there were so many different grouse in Alberta,
right.
Just specifically grouse, and so that was really cool. And to learn that, like, we have lynx in Alberta, I didn't know we have so many different animals or species in Alberta, so that was really cool just to learn about.
Absolutely. Our Alberta Hunter Education course is world-class.
Yeah?
It's been around since the 60s, and lots of jurisdictions across North America have copied the model, and the people in Alberta have been gracious to share it, because it's all about sharing knowledge, getting people on board, making sure they're educated, making sure they know stuff, making it fun to learn. So I think the course is good. And, I've taken it several times because I've had friends and family that want to hunt. And they're like, well, I got to take hunter ed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'll take it with you. Let's go sit in the classroom.
For sure. No, I think I made sure to pay an extra $20 and I actually got the physical book.
The manual,
this
yes.
Really hefty book. And I do enjoy just scrolling through it and just looking at all the pictures and just reading about whatever. But yeah, it's very in-depth and very thorough. But like, I don't know. I think someone who takes the time to do it should really, I think they would really appreciate all what's in it. It's just, yeah.
Right. I kind of led you to this, but it was onerous at the time to get through the course and to do all that stuff. But when you tasted that deer, it made it seem like it was not that big a deal.
I mean, everything was worth it. Like,
there you go.
I mean, and yeah, I kind of started hunting maybe 2 years ago, but my first season doing all the courses and I had to renew my gun license. I actually missed the season just trying to really just wait for my gun license to come back. But yeah, I mean, once I got all of my certificates in order and I was ready to go the next season, yeah, it was, once you get that stuff under your belt, it's not that bad. You know, it was, I feel like and this year I'm just I'll be good to go. And it's, you just got to take the time to do it. And once it's done, do they expire?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
perfect.
Your gun license has to be renewed every 5 years, but your hunter ed is once in a lifetime and it's recognized across North America. So if you end up hunting in a different jurisdiction, they'll recognize that in order to buy the licenses.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that somewhere down the road you're going to end up taking hunter ed again because you do have younger kids, and it is easier when mom or dad come with to do the course, and it keeps the kids inspired and interested and helps them learn. So
yeah. Well, my kids already like the big green book.
Right.
They like all the pictures in it.
It's a great manual to just refer to for different things. There's a lot of outdoor information there besides hunting.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. I also wanted to say, like, I obviously don't have the full book memorized, but I did make a point of knowing what I was targeting and just being aware of the regulations around what I was targeting. Like, for example, I knew I wanted to do some pheasant hunting, so I just made sure that I knew what a pheasant looked like and what a pheasant didn't look like and all that stuff, and same with white-tailed deer. I made sure that I could just tell the difference between a white-tail and a mule deer. That was... So,
and that's a great way to
start. You don't got
to
memorize everything, I suppose, day one.
Right.
But
that's a great starting point for people. And I'm sure that when you're out in the field, you were taking mental notes, looking at the ears and the tail and the, any features that you could help distinguish things. And then it becomes second nature. You can see them like a silhouette in the dark and you can tell what they are.
Yeah. Like in your podcast, chatting with your brother, you were just talking about how you can tell any bird, any species, and I was just like, wow, like this guy knows everything, but it comes with time.
It
right?
does, yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of the passion. You've got the passion. You want to be if you were around 100 years ago, you'd have been the homesteader that was successful and had a wonderful place and a big garden and fed your family well, raised your kids.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't do it today.
Mm-hmm.
It's that homesteader mentality that I think keeps us going out in the field and wanting more.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose with fishing, like I can identify any fish,
right?
From a mile away. Not really. It's too far to see them, but you know what I mean. Like you get to know the animals. Yeah.
Certainly. So you got plans to get out and harvest more deer, more pheasants this year?
Absolutely.
Any new species on the horizon?
No, I just want to kind of keep building my confidence with white-tailed deer specifically. I would like to, because in Alberta, I guess you can get a buck tag and then 2, what are they called, supplemental tags for does?
That's correct. A general tag lets you shoot a buck or a doe in some zones, and some zones bucks only.
Okay, yeah. So I think that would be a full season for me if I can just procure maybe a nice buck, and then 2 does, and just take the time to process and then save the meat in our deep freezers. That's kind of something what I'm mostly after. But I do think about bow hunting, and I don't know. Do you think bow hunting is kind of like the fly fishing of hunting? I think of it like that.
I think people used to think of it as that, but there's more and more people starting with bow hunting because you don't need to have a lot of people are afraid of guns. They don't like the recoil. They don't like the noise.
Right.
So archery is a natural progression for people getting into hunting, and it puts you close to nature. You got to learn real fast.
You got to be close. You got to be probably more quiet. You
Much more.
But that's kind of like fly fishing in a way. You know, you got to be much more patient, and subtle. You know, you can't just splash and dash. You got to be kind of.
And I archery hunt because it extends my seasons.
Yeah, because you get an extra month, right?
At least, yeah. Okay. I mean, up in the Peace Country, it opens August 25th for deer, moose, elk. So you can really get out there early, and it is fun. I find that being an archer really improves my firearm hunting because it teaches you to get close, be patient, wait for the right shot, all those things that are important to be successful.
Yeah. So I know, I feel like, you know, again, a natural evolution for me is to eventually start bow hunting, but just one step at a time, you know?
I would say another good one for you would be our grouse populations. Where you live, you don't have to go far. You've got spruce grouse, rough grouse. You go a little further, you got ptarmigan, blue grouse. You know, there's lots of them, and they're very tasty birds.
Yeah.
As a homesteader,
there was a few times I saw a grouse run across our driveway.
Right.
And I did go back for my shotgun, actually a little 22, but I tried, but they always kind of gave me the slip. They kept on getting away from me.
Yeah.
So, but
they're good at it.
Yeah.
Well, I think you know this question. You've listened to a few podcasts. Food for thought. What's your favorite wild game recipe?
Okay, and I got an easy one. It's not even a recipe. But I think half the deer that I ate, I made smash burgers out of, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so simple. You just grind your meat, and sometimes I'd cut a little bit of bacon in there, you know, but it's not necessary. And then just a nice skillet with a little layer of oil. And there is something about smashing them. You get that crust on
Pressing
them.
Pressing them,
yeah. And then you were saying even put some onions on the bottom, some crispy onions, like... Man, that I could just eat those nonstop.
Yeah, smash burgers are awesome. They're easy
so
to make.
Good. Yeah,
you know, maybe a little bit of salt and pepper. That's about it for seasoning, and just enjoy the meat for what it is.
And that's actually what I made for my family when they came over. Again, there was 10 or 15 people there. My brother with his kids, and I made them all smash burgers.
Nice.
I had ground a lot of ground venison for that, and but they were all just like, these burgers are so good, you know. And, so smash burger. That's my...
Great recipe. Mm-hmm. Well, you're an inspiration to people that are thinking about getting into hunting. Any last words of advice, you know, of people that are listening, because Harvest Your Own is geared towards people that want to get into hunting, find out more, get on the right path. Is there any advice you have for them?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing is I feel like... You know, it is so valuable to just have someone that you can talk to, or better yet, take you out. Like I was, you know, very fortunate that I had a few people in my corner that I could text little questions to. I had a friend that did take me out deer hunting twice. And, actually the second time he took me out, we saw some deer. And he actually told me to get into the prone position, and I never shot in the prone position before, so I put my face right up to the scope. I actually ended up scoping myself. I don't know if you can still see that.
I've got one of those scars too.
Okay, perfect. So in that situation, the deer definitely won. I don't know. Like you can watch your YouTube videos and you can read all the books, but it is just, it's so helpful to just, I think, have someone that you can talk to, or better yet, take you out.
It really is, to get that firsthand experience and have people guide you through the things that you question. So, you know, AHIA, the Alberta Hunter Education Instructors Association. I listened to that one. Yeah, they have a mentorship program. And if you don't have somebody in your life that can take you out, don't know people, get a hold of them. They'll find a mentor for you. Delta Waterfowl does their Waterfowl 101. Again, people that are interested in bird hunting, they'll take you out on a bird hunt. They'll run you through all the paces, help you get a duck or a goose or multiples, and then they're going to show you how to clean it, and you end the day by cooking it and enjoying it. Yeah. So, you know, there's some great programs in Alberta. People that want to get started in hunting, I say, you know, don't put it off, because it could change your life.
Yep.
So embrace it, find a way to do it, and don't let yourself hold yourself back. You know, you might think that there's some stumbling blocks, but they're easy to overcome.
Yeah. That's right. You know, I mean, even if they're not easy to overcome, you can overcome them.
Absolutely.
And it's possible. And I think for anyone thinking about it, it's worth it. It's been such a beautiful experience that I've just been loving, and I'm very thankful for. So,
well, I'll be watching you on your Instagram to see where things go in the future. And
okay.
I'd like to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your information, your story. I think it's a great one, and we have some of the highest hunter recruitment in North America in Alberta. So,
wow,
welcome to the fold.
Thank you. Thank you.
We hope to inspire people to reconnect with nature and appreciate where your food comes from by harvesting your own. For more information on getting started or to learn specifics about the Field to Fork experience, visit harvestyourown.ca and follow on Facebook and Instagram. Check back often for new material, recipes, and videos that are posted regularly. Please subscribe to Harvest Your Own podcast and take the time to rate and review the show to help us build a dedicated core of passionate hunters as our regular audience. Until next time, embrace the outdoors and all it has to offer. Thanks for joining us.